Chaps, we are welcoming. Is that a word? That is a word, isn't it?
It's a good word.
Dr. It feels weird to call you Dr. Susie Bennett because to me you're just Susie.
Yeah.
But you are Dr. Susie Bennett from Glasgow University. And we've been working together with MANUP for 2 years now.
2 years, yeah.
And in my head, we've done a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of us as a charity. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of our supporters. I'm proud of just everything that we've achieved. I wanted to just pull this into like a video because a lot of our fundraisers and the people that follow us, what may have never been to an event, and let's face it, half of them may have not even read your research in the first place, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all on the website, malesuicideresearch.com, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. We'll do the taggy stuff later. They're trusting us with a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to do a video and actually kind of explain what it is, what we hope we've got from it.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us first of all about the researchy stuff?
Yeah.
I forgot the first question, so while you do that,
that's great.
Owen's going to zoom in on you.
Because this gives me a good opportunity to say, like, a really massive thank you. To all the supporters, to you, Dan, to the trustees, because it has been life-changing for me. I mean, I would have been...
It's been life-changing for other people as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
There is not one person in this space, in the mental health space, would not agree with that.
Yeah.
So credit to you.
Thanks, Dan. It's always a difficult thing to, like, feel positive about stuff in this space, because obviously, I mean, you know as well all the time, Dan, that the reality is that you know, people are in a lot of pain, ongoing.
Well, we're here because men are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm honest, I don't want to be harsh,
but
the reason we're sitting in this freezing cold pub is because men are dead.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't down to that.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah. And I think that you and I have always had a strong alignment in understanding what the funding represents, like where it's come from.
Yeah.
And that we're now kind of responsible in some ways for people's legacies. Yeah, and wanting, you know, and feeling, I mean, in some ways it gives you such incredible fuel for doing the work because your purpose and your motivation is so clear, but also the responsibility then of making sure that you have as much impact as possible. And I think that, you know, that we have a real kind of, I've always felt really strong moral alignment between us, which has been really, really, really important to me, to be working not only just as support, but kind of like sharing that moral ground as well. And I think that basically for me, Dan, because I came into this work having well, really, you know, it was born out of like personal pain, basically, and as I know similarly for you, and like I had to put that pain somewhere productive, or I was going to kind of implode. So, you know, experiences with loved ones really struggling with these kinds of thoughts and feelings. So the drive for me throughout, Dan, has always been, how do you get information back into the lives of people living this reality so they can understand better what's going on for them. I've absolutely never given a flying fuck about the world of academia.
Same as
you know, like it's got nothing of appeal to me, but it's a way, it's a means in which we, you know, it's not to say I have great colleagues and collaborators and stuff like that, but I'm saying that, you know, the purpose of it has always been getting that information back out to people, and that's part of why MANUP support's been so phenomenal, because I think we've done 9 events now. We spoke
over 2 years, I think it is.
Over 2 years.
That's not including
that's face to face.
Yeah.
So face to face events. We've done 9 now in Manchester, Newcastle, Liverpool, Cardiff, Glasgow.
Don't bring up Wales.
Yeah, that.
We did do on Wales, but
some logistical challenges.
That was we did our bit, but anyway, let's not go down that road. But
And we've had amazing audiences of men with lived experiences, health professionals, local council, prison staff, police staff, addiction charities, homeless charities, domestic abuse charities. Like, we've been able to reach so many people, and it's been like that for me is just an absolute gift. Even today I got an email, I sent it to you, but you might not have seen it yet.
We've been setting up this, I've read half of it,
a woman who works for an early psychosis team in York, and she just watched our webinar that we did together, and now she's been very generous, saying how helpful she found it, and they've now going to have a team meeting with the rest of the team to watch the video and kind of discuss it and think about how they can work better with men coming into their service. So those kind of ripples are like, that's what it's all about. That. And
I think the main thing is, because we did our last event in November, which is Manchester.
December, yeah.
Was it December? That was it. Not emergency. That's the one we just chucked on because
that was like, Jamie inspired.
No, it was it. And well done to Jamie.
Yeah.
But it's just like even now, like months later, 2, 3, 4 months, a month later, whatever else, like people are still saying, "Well done." For it. And that's something what I'm really proud of. Not just this research, not just the research. We've managed to get that research, put it into an event where normal people can just come and listen and learn from it. For free, and even the webinars, and on YouTube I still see the odd comments and all this kind of stuff as well, where that people what engage with it want to make a change. And I've been there, I think it was Chelmsford, where somebody at the end of that was the quietest one as well, wasn't it? That was a weird one. It was a good one, it was a weird one, where someone goes, I've got it all wrong.
Right.
And that is so nice to get like feedback like that. And it was a woman as well.
Right.
And it's the thing of just like, I've just got it all wrong. Like I want to go back to, I can't remember where she worked. It was some small charity. I don't know how. It's like we need to review our policies of how we're engaging with men. And for me, that's absolutely worth its weight in gold. It's the same as like the MANUP mountain. I don't want to go on a tangent, but like the MANUP mountain thing. Like we had a message for the last one. It's brilliant getting feedback from the men that we go. But when we get a message, and we have done 2 or 3 times from the partner, or the latest one was a wife, he's come back like a new man.
Wow.
That's what's important. We're a men's mental health. Always fight for the male cause, but it's actually about who's involved in that man's life as well. Absolutely, the knock-on effect is massive. And that's why I'm passionate about this research, just as much as you are. Really, it's about changing the way that people think about men's mental health. Which leads me on to the next question, or the first question. We might as well start off with it. So what are the myths about men's mental health that I guess your research and there are other types of research that just slaps it down? And I think for me, like, obviously, the 91% of the 2,500 suicides, where everyone's like, men should talk. I was like, they fucking are. 91% of 2,500 suicides, and I believe the data was biological men, so the data was so clean, really, really clean. Of biological men, 91% of 2,500 suicides were in fact speaking to somebody on a frontline service.
Right,
charity, doctor, whatever else, and they're dead. So what's your... I think I've just answered it for you. But
you have actually. I guess that would be the biggest myth. That definitely the evidence that we show. I mean, first of all, I have to say, like, men are incredibly diverse. So there's you see expressions of all kinds of different behaviours, and the reality is still true that for certain groups of men, there is a real resistance around the idea of going and getting for help, and I think that's not always just because they might see it as being a weakness. I think also for some men there's a real struggle to understand themselves as legitimate recipients of care, people that should be worried about or concerned about.
Do you mean they feel they don't deserve it?
Yeah, that's not their role, that they're the ones that take care of other people. Therefore, it's so... unfamiliar to them, the idea that they should, especially, Dan, if you've had complex stuff going on in your childhood where you've never received the sort of care you should have received, if you feed that into it as well, can make it
Thanks
even more...
for the trauma bring up. Thank you very much. Yeah. But no, thanks, Susie. Yeah, look me straight in the eyes. Yeah. But no, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And so there's complicated reasons why a man might not want to go for help. And so what I'm saying is that it's still true that for some groups of men, that's a very real barrier. But we see more evidence in our work of men who said, I have gone for help and the help's been shit, or, hasn't worked for me. So that's one of the kind of like biggest myths in terms of the research. And then I think just broader, like in terms of like social, cultural myths, like I feel like I really, it's so everywhere, this idea of men kind of being emotionally lesser.
Yeah.
Not as fluent or as competent or as articulate, communicative. And my experience through doing the research is that is such a lie. And that when you give a lot of men time and space to communicate with you, I mean, I've received so much kind of emotional insight, wisdom, tenderness, like extraordinary power from, I have a deep respect now for men as emotional beings, which I think like prior to doing this research, I feel like, we're just sort of presented so often, as a woman, I'm so often presented with a two-dimensional view of men. And it's so, it's really dehumanising. Yeah. I, in my work, see the really, really dangerous, violent consequences, kind of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good answer, but I think for me, it's... the whole men, I just find it so offensive when people say men don't talk.
Yeah.
For me, it just seems like such a cop-out, and there's so much evidence, even with your evidence, and even like the 91%, and this man club full to the brim.
Yeah.
We're absolutely full to the brim. Yeah. And I'm absolutely adamant, sorry, that's the right word I'm looking for. I'm absolutely adamant that anyone, male, female, or other, could put a post on their personal Facebook profile. And I think the average person's got 350 people. I think that's like their going average. I'm not sure recently, but so if the average person's got 350 people as friends on there, they could put a post up tonight and say, right, I'm doing a men's group down my local pub this Friday, next Friday, and come down. And I can guarantee by only sharing to that to those 350 friends, they will get 10 blokes turn up.
Right.
And on heart. So we can't say that. It's just we need to get to the bottom of if a man doesn't want to talk, maybe it's because he doesn't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And this goes the same for partners, boyfriend, girlfriends, doctors, or anything like that as well. Am I making sense?
Yeah, totally. And that's completely fair enough. I don't want to talk to everybody about my most intimate things. Like it's completely natural to, and I think there's probably gendered things that come into it about the people that you feel comfortable speaking to. But I think, Dan, that I absolutely love these community peer spaces, spaces for men to meet other men. I think it's absolutely vital and so kind of sacred. And you're right, the numbers turning out for them completely demonstrate the kind of hunger.
Some of them are turning people away.
Right.
Not because just purely because like public liability and insurance and capacity and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we've funded groups before, about 3 or 4 in the last year that we've helped out to expand. Yeah. Like Jamie from the Mandam
meetup.
Thank you. I get it wrong every time. I hope he doesn't watch this. And whatever. Do you get what I mean? It's like we're helping other people expand, but it's just, I think we need to get to the bottom. It's brilliant that these communities are growing and growing and growing, but some of those men will go to these, and we've been to some of these groups, and some of them can turn into crisis. And I'm not undermining any of these groups. They do fantastic stuff, but some of them need medical care.
Yeah.
Some of them need the medical, they need the drugs and whatever else.
Yeah.
But we need to get to the bottom of why won't they engage with a doctor?
Services.
And we can blame men and say they're not talking, the same old bullshit, especially in November or Movember. Let's not go down that road. Been there before. We will again at some point. And whatever else, but it's just like, when I asked the question, I was like, if the man in the life doesn't want to talk, is that a you problem or a him problem? And it's very, very rare that that person goes, do you know what, maybe it is me. Maybe he doesn't trust me. Maybe, like, why won't he listen? Why won't he talk to me? And I think until we can get the services, the judges, the social workers, mums, boyfriends, trying to keep it all PC and cover all
dads,
that. Do you know what I mean? Until we get people question themselves, says, do you know what, why won't my son talk to me? We're not going to change anything. And I think this is why research like this is so, so important. But this research is only as important as the people wanting to read it and learn from it. I think we just got to get to the bottom of people questioning themselves as well, rather than just blaming men.
I mean, that was a huge, huge part of the work for me on a personal level as a woman doing this research. Like, as you've heard me say so many times, Dan, like, obviously there's things that I would just never understand about what it's like to be a man in the world. I just do not have that. I can't taste that. So for me, it was a huge, huge, I always describe it as like putting my brain through a car wash of really having to, and I always say, and I know I've shared this quote before, but it's just the most piercing demonstration of that, of a 29-year-old man who'd had thoughts of suicide since he was 16, thinks about suicide every 3 days, and he said in one of our surveys, he said, at what age does society decide that the boy worthy of love, care and protection is now a man and no longer deserving of any? And that for me was a real crossroads for me doing the research. When I read that quote, during COVID in lockdown, I just remember that quote just sat with me for days and days, and I really had to go on a journey of self-reflection and think about me in the world as a woman, how I interact with men, and think about men. And when I sat with that quote, I could not deny that something in my empathy shifted when I thought about a young boy struggling versus a man struggling. And that same shift in empathy didn't happen when I thought about a young girl struggling and a woman struggling. So right there, I identified in me something seismic that was changing that I wasn't aware of until I read that quote. And now I have to say that shift doesn't happen anymore, because I've heard so many stories at this point, Dan, from so many men who've lived all kinds of like complicated lives with difficult, painful things happening to them. So when I meet a man, I have a completely different perspective on what his life may be and had been in the past. And so, I always talk about, I think it's Martin Seeger and John Barry, that psychologists describe this kind of empathy gap that exists. And I think that, to your point, for me is the one of the kind of like beating hearts that so many other strings of pain are kind of tied to. And until each of us, I think, takes responsibility for excavating our own kind of prejudices and biases that we might be holding, I don't think we understand the ways in which we can be kind of not experiencing the men around us in their wholeness. I mean, that's what's been so beautiful for me, again, talking on a personal level, Dan, like doing the work, is how much emotional intimacy I'm now able to share with so many different men, which my life prior to this was kind of starved of, because I was, in this, being sort of conditioned in this way of thinking of men as in a quite two-dimensional way. So maybe that then starts to restrict or limit the kind of questions that we might, I might ask somebody, and and so on, and and then for me as a woman, I was, my life was then starved of a lot of of what the male energy can bring when it's allowed to be in its wholeness. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? So just to go back to your point of, I think that for me, what I'm saying, for everybody's captain of their own ship and you can sail it as you wish. But, you know, from my ship point, I would say it's been really, really important to do that kind of self-reflection.
Yeah.
And it's been very, very sobering to me what's been illuminated as I've, you know, done that. And I'm so much rich. My life, aside from research as a human being, my life is so much, you know, richer now. And I've met so many fucking brilliant men doing this work.
And there's loads more than the bad ones.
Oh my God, it's just,
Like,
this
is what people, and I think obviously I don't want to go about that Mr. Bellend Tate, even though it was absolutely brilliant to watch him get his ass kicked by somebody who can't box.
I missed
it was
this.
beautiful.
Okay.
So everything of him, alpha male, tosser, he got obliterated by somebody who can't box, and it was brilliant to see like that mask fall on the floor, and now people, and even young boys, especially because I do some stuff in schools every now and again, like they've washed their hands with him, and that's beautiful. But I think we need to put him in that dickhead bowl. I know you probably heard me. Put those toxic people, bi, lesbian, just all the dickheads, toxic people in a dickhead bubble. Let them be dickheads in their own little world. Stick them on an island somewhere, and let us good people just get on and stop mixing people. I've been called toxic before, and I remember this was at a college. So like, you sound pretty toxic. I was like, why is that? I was like, can you give me a point? And they couldn't answer. I was like, oh, is it because of like racing?
Okay.
Obviously the racing motorbikes. Like, I used to do boxing and blah blah blah, and I gave all of this list. I was like, yeah, that's all like toxic masculinity.
Right.
No, that's just. That's just
the exact same thing.
You're not in the video,
really?
Jack.
Jack's heard the same thing.
I've been called toxic before. And I asked, I said, why am I toxic? And they said, well, you know, you like to go away with your mates and go on lads' holidays. And you like to go and play rugby, and you know, you like boxing, and I'm like, why is that toxic? Like, what am I not allowed to enjoy myself and find things that I like and be?
Exactly that. But and when I called that person out of like define toxic masculinity, and they just can't do it, which is why us as a charity we just don't talk about it anymore unless we reference it, stuff like this. But I think the issue is not. And I think you said something a second ago. I think you said everyone can be a captain of their own ship. I support that massively, but it does feel like that applies to everybody except men.
Right.
And there is that quote. It wasn't Martin Seeger. I think it was Gary something. I know George from Tin Men once said it, but I don't think it's the original source. What everyone has problems. Men are the problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know the one?
Yeah.
Gary something. I can't remember what it was.
Apologies to Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, but that stuck with me, and it does feel like that as a man, it's just like everyone has problems. But I'm also one of the problems. Like we don't have problems. No, that was it. No, I'm not going to misquote it anymore. You can't.
I know your point.
You get what I mean. I feel bad because obviously it's always
because you're a man.
Yeah, basically, and whatever else, and it does kind of feel like that. And I think going backwards, for me personally, everyone's allowed to be a captain of the ship, and I'll support that. But it does feel like men aren't allowed to be, and it seemed to have gone backwards a little bit, and like anti-men, and like that card what you've seen, and we've shared so many stuff on WhatsApp when we've seen stuff. Do you get what I mean? Just like anti-men. I think it's swinging back round, but for that 2-3 years of everyone, what felt like everyone being anti-men, I'm doing it now, anti-masculinity. I'm really concerned that for the next generation of 15, arguably 10s, 15s, 18-year-olds like that, 20-year-olds, we're just going to go backwards again. I think because they don't have role models, we've told them that even in schools now, any young lad at school is going to be a rapist.
Yeah, I'm
going on a tangent, so I apologise. So we've got no role models. We're slagging off men, and I think us older generation, not that old obviously, but us older generation, we're training our education, even MANUP, teaching or educating our generation, But I'm literally scared that when the next ones come along, it's going to get even worse of men not talking. But I think they're going to be tougher, because from a very, very young age, those young boys without role models, without anything, and at the moment they're being told that they're going to be a rapist, harass women, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm terrified for it. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, completely.
I think they're going to be tougher than we are, because they'll be like, well, you didn't listen to me as a kid, so why did you listen to me as a teenager?
Yeah.
And they're going to be hardened, really, really hardened.
Yeah.
And I think we need to stop it.
Yeah.
I think it really does. And I do not blame the young boys for this. I blame society for it.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you, Dan. I think we share that concern of like, what positive vision are young boys being told about masculinity and the role men can play in the world. And I think that is, and and I think a lot. I mean, so loads of things came up for me as you were talking there. Like the diminishing of the ways in which men may seek to cope is as well a disservice to everybody, because there's things that the rest of us can learn as well. Like when I was doing my PhD up in Glasgow, I joined a local boxing club, and it was fucking brilliant. One of the best mental health outlets. Just punching things was great for me as a woman. Being in aggression that's managed, it's contained, it's healthy. The community that was around there, being around like male banter, I found really joyful. Like the football coach used to call me like Susie the assassin.
Right, okay.
And I was fucking awful, Dan, and everyone knew I was awful, but it was so light. Made me feel so kind of safe and at home there, like just be, and I think that, so for me, when you talk about wild camping or the motorbike racing, there's part of me that goes, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Like there's things that we can
it's my therapy.
Learn from each other about different ways of kind of coping. And then the other thing that I think about, and I think that people don't understand the conflict in the messages of telling men to talk, but also this implied sense that you are somehow the problem. So I'm saying to you, tell me what your intimate pain is, but know that I'm thinking you've somehow brought that on yourself, which for me is kind of like if I went to see a therapist that I knew was kind of low-level homophobic, as a queer person, I'm not going to want to go into that space and start sharing with you my intimate. It's immediately unsafe to me. There's an immediate sense of hostility, but I think it's so normalised to have this kind of like low-key derogatory view of men. Going back to that card, which I always reference, it's a card in a gift shop in a London museum that I went into a few years ago, and the card says, "I like everybody, even men." And I think that card represents that completely, because I can't think of another group of people in the modern era that you could produce that kind of card about.
Well, you wouldn't. You'd be ridiculed on social media.
There'd be
wouldn't
so
end up
much
in a
backlash.
shop. Would never ever. It wouldn't even touch a shop.
And so that's what I mean about kind of the lack of awareness about how kind of widespread this can be. And once you start dialing into it, you start seeing it and hearing it in all kinds of places, and in ways that before I know I labour this point, but like before the research I would never have thought about. So like comments now about men's height or men's hairlines, which now, like through the research, I heard from enough men that for certain men that can be real sources of anguish. That now when I hear that kind of comment, something that I know because I've been close to women all my life, certain things that I know would be very activating for women, and it's wounding them for me to hear that being joked about in the same way now, because I had that richer insight to some of the challenges and struggles that some men are facing. And that's it's so normalised, those kind of things and commentary, and there's a real kind of there is a double standard in that, and I can understand that it can be so isolating then. For example, I mean, this is one specific example in a way, but if that is your source of pain and or a component of it, and it's something that is mainstream kind of mocked, it's, you know, it can make it so much more difficult then to communicate around it. It's but going back to your point as well with the young lads, I absolutely hear you about I mean, that's why, like, Sonia, Lads Need Dads, like, that kind of work is absolutely priceless. And, you know, Dan, we just have to thank God that people like that exist in the world, that see that gap and are creating solutions to try and fill it. But, you know, it's then fucking outrageous that she should be struggling for funding or...
No, exactly.
You know... Anyway, I've gone on a tangent now, Dan.
No, I don't think you have. But I think, like, after everything what you've got to say is, if you now picture a man who's... I don't want to say depressed, because I do believe a lot of blokes, when they're going through mental health wobbles, because I've been there myself...
Yeah.
I think probably Jack, don't say anything, Jack, you're not in the video. But even like Jack or even other people I've spoken to, they don't... It takes a while for them. They know just... They're going through life wobbles.
Yeah.
Something's not right in their head. They don't know what it is, and they need to process it and all this kind of stuff. So when you're constantly hearing stuff of just like, I love everybody, including men, like, and it's everywhere. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the thing. So why the fuck would I want to engage with you if I'm going through a load of life issues and whatever else? And I've had conversations myself actually when I've had the doctor sitting there basically implying that my past is my own problem, when obviously because I've been raised in care and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, well, just move on from it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's my... So why am I going to engage? Why am I going to talk to you?
Yeah.
And that. So, so I'm trying to swing it back. I think I've got a thing, but it's just... It frustrates me. Yeah. It really does frustrate me. And this is what really worries me, because I think at the moment we're getting men and women and actually more and more people, especially the last 6 months, starting to fight more for men. And I know everyone's got their views on like adolescence and all this kind of stuff as well. I think it was good, but I think the way that society's dealing with it is completely and utterly wrong.
Yeah, and that's nothing on...
So wrong. We're now blaming young boys and adolescents for something that hasn't happened. We're telling them, we're sentencing them. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And I think for me that show kind of highlighted the poverty of stories that we have about boys. Yeah. Because, you know, the creators are telling one specific story of boyhood, and we need a whole tapestry of different stories so that becomes one thread in this richer picture. And I think that, you know, we've been, you know, not only do you fund the knowledge sharing events, but you're funding me as well to produce new research and write up research. And a lot of this last year has been really about looking at the area of childhood challenges and how that impacts then the life course for certain men. I always say when we talk about male suicide specifically in the context of childhood experiences, going through adversity in childhood can be fucking brutal, irrespective of your gender. If you're then in being socialised in these cultural norms to suppress your pain, to not be vulnerable, to be self-reliant, you know, as a lot of men are, then those boys that have experienced complexity in childhood are then, you know, being completely cut off from, you know, processing what's gone on for them. And so, you know, in doing this research this last year, I've heard so many stories from men about difficult things that have gone on in their childhood, you know, abuse, neglect, bullying, coping with being neurodiverse, self-harming, just, you know, isolation, all of these different things. And I think there needs to be there needs to be a raising of awareness about all those different experiences that are happening for young boys as well. And, you know, where's the support for them? And then going into school and hearing certain messages about men and masculinity is, and you're living a life of high pain and high unsafety, you know, that's so brutal. And, you know, and you're right, the adults in the room have to take responsibility around what better provision of care are we going to, you know, to give.
I think some are. I think those sums are turning into more. But I don't want to turn anything us versus them, because I'm a massive supporter of rising up the people what support the cause, I guess. But it does feel like the events. The average events we've done is 100 people?
Yeah.
And we've done 9 of them or whatever else, not including all the online stuff and obviously snippets and side ones. Hand on heart, and let's say 100 people. I realistically think out of 100 of those people, maybe 30 people of them, which is still high for this, 30 people of them would have gone, I'm going to change something. The other people, maybe there's a little bit more what will be like, okay, I want to change something, I don't know how, but they'll question, am I making sense? Yeah. And then there'll be other people that might have just managed to blag a 3-day off on pay and whatever. Right. Do you get what I mean? But it does feel like for every 10 people, really only 1 or 2 people are willing to go, maybe it is me.
Yeah, maybe I'm contributing somehow.
This is what I need to change. And we've got to get to, we've got to get to the bottom of why won't a man talk to you?
Yeah.
And if you can answer that, or the man, it doesn't need to be all men, because all blokes are different, the same as men, women and other. Everyone's different. Just take 30 seconds. Just go. Why won't Jack talk to me?
Yeah, and it's totally fine. I know let's say my older brother, for example, one of the most important people in the world to me, and I love him to death. And if anything ever happened to him, I don't know that I would be, you know, okay. But I know he doesn't want to talk to me about his kind of mental health challenges because he's my big brother and he wants to protect me from that. And so I respect that, even though I would love to, you know, I've got all the time in the world to listen to him as much as he needs. I understand, you know, it doesn't always, you know, I understand that for some people that there are certain people that they're not going to feel comfortable sharing that with, but other people, you know, for example, you know, with my brother, he has like a struggle with panic attacks for decades, and it was so powerful. He's not a boxing man, but when Tyson Fury did an interview basically saying that because he has panic attacks as well, and the experience of having a panic attack is so much more frightening than any opponent he's ever faced in the ring. And I think that kind of man, as in a way, sharing that, disclosing that, there's a different kind of permission and release, I think, that can come for certain men to hear that from than, you know, if I you know, said something like that. Do you see what I mean? So you know, I think it's like I always talk about we need as rich kind of diverse ecosystem of support, care, intervention as possible, because there's one man that's kind of like this kind of person that's going to need support that meets him there, and another man that's a completely different. And so, you know, and that's why I think spaces like MANUP are so crucial. Like, you're able, I think, to reach certain groups of men and have these conversations and build community that is, you know, that's really always feels completely authentic. Like, I know it's absolutely heart-rooted, you know, and I think that that's so needed in this space. Like, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, I find that clinical stuff is so important, those kind of interventions and services, absolutely. But just, you know, I don't want to be too cheesy, but just when you're in pain, having just another fucking human being
just to properly
just
listen.
Be human with you. I always remember this lovely guy I met who'd made a really serious attempt on his life, and he was saying to me the first time he met another man who'd also made a really serious attempt on their life, and they could talk together and share about what had happened to them and laugh about it, was so kind of like freeing for him. Like, yeah, so I've forgotten completely down what point.
No. It was a good point, but I think the main thing, I think we've covered a lot, actually, haven't we? Yeah, that was a good one. So before we draw to a close, I'm conscious of time, so we're going to have a bit of a breather.
Yeah.
If you could, out of all the research, everything that you've learned, I don't know, speak to one person of like, what would you want them to change? What's your ideal world with men living in it and sharing it? Did that make sense?
Well, yeah, it's basically the question.
Oh, we've sodded that question off now, but no, go on.
If you could change one thing about how services respond to men based on what you've seen, what
okay, yeah. I mean, I think that I don't want to be repetitive, but I suppose the point that I made earlier about each person kind of excavating their own biases is so critical, so that you can meet the human being. I think that's what's so important, to meet the human being. Yeah. And I know I don't want to labour the point, but I can't stress enough that with this two-dimensional view of men that we're given, of this kind of flattened emotional interior, which is just not true, and this kind of flattened relational needs, which is not true as well, because we've evolved, we're a social species and we need each other. Men need people in the same way that I need them too. When that sense of men's wholeness becomes flattened, you're not meeting the whole human being anymore. You're meeting this kind of socially flattened version of them. And I think that, and it sounds kind of, I feel a bit mad saying the words out loud, because you think, how the fuck have we ended up in this situation?
I've asked the question many times, yeah.
It's so...
Because in a nutshell, the sweet, if you merge everything together, it's just like, make your own mind up about that person by spending 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, ignore the feminists. That's going to trigger a bit. Ignore the feminists. Ignore those people who are like telling you what a man or men are, and learn.
Yeah, meet the human being and learn.
Just meet the human being.
Learn, listen deeply. Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And you will be so much, not just for that kind of individual, but just generally in your life, so much richer for it. And like, you know as well, Dan, because you are one of them, and you come into contact with so many like just gorgeous men up and down the country who, I don't want us to lose sight.
I wouldn't comment that personally, but I'll see where you're coming from.
I'm saying it for you. But like Jack too, of like brilliant men.
You're an 8 out of 10, you'll be right.
Doing amazing stuff. Yeah. Like we went and did the event in Manchester off the back of meeting Jamie, Mandem Meetup, came and we threw him into the panel in Liverpool because somebody dropped out, I think, and was so impressed and in awe of this guy's fucking... Yeah. He's a legend, isn't he? He's a beating heart, and he's allowing that heart then to be a magnet for men in his community to find safety, and it's absolutely glorious. And and Jamie's just one of different men up and down the country doing amazing things. So I think there's a lot to kind of be... I always say you got to find the people that are the light bearers. Yeah, because we'll drown in the darkness. It's really easy to do, particularly at this moment in time. So you've got to find those kind of small fires of hope and go and sit there. Yeah. Don't sit in the darkness.